We are live.
Totally.
What's up, everybody? This is Mark Monroe, and as you can see, we brought some people along with us today. So this should be interesting, y'all, because y'all ready? All right, y'all. Thank you for rocking with us. It's officially Thursday, November 19th. By the way, I want to send a special shout out to my brother, Dante. Happy birthday, big bro. Today's your 37th. I know that, it's been a tumultuous time period over the last probably like 48 hours. But, from little brother to big brother, happy birthday. I love you. Let's keep jacking up those numbers. Anyways, let's get into business. This is Hot Take Thursday, so you know what's going to be happening. Jolene's going to be coming. She's coming in hot with some of these questions in which I probably have no idea and probably no business in answering these questions. But today, y'all, I am coming with some wolves with me. Well, with a wolf with me. And that brother by the name of Quentin Martin, in whom which that you see on the screen. We're going to get into his story a little bit because he has a hell of a backstory as it pertains to his journey. The title for this show is called The Streets Are Talking for a Reason. And yes, if you are coming through with us, let us know where you're coming from. If you haven't subscribed before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because, clearly, I feel like you're getting some of the best stuff in town. Think about it. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you like us, go ahead, hit the like button. I guess I hear that it helps. But if you don't like what we're doing, go ahead and hit the dislike button. That's okay. We are always looking for room for improvement. So go ahead and add that in there. And on top of that, if you want to be in the know for when we are dropping a new episode, especially whether it's wealth rituals, the breakdown, maybe some special guests and other friends that may be, dropping some content on the Come Up series, go ahead and hit that bell. So without further ado, oh, by the way, simple housekeeping. If you are dropping capital into the super chat, then you know that it goes towards the right place, which is charity. It starts from home, and it also starts here at the Come Up series here for us. So 100% of all super chats always goes towards charity. We trade for charity, and on top of that, we like to help. And also shout out to the Bridge Project today because they broke ground on their project. So
they did.
All right, without further ado, Jolene, what you got for us? What you got? Let's get some of this housekeeping.
Jolene, you seen the place to be, and it is Hot Take Thursday, and we are super excited because the market was, it was green. Well, for right now, because that aftermarket, the future is not looking so green.
The future don't look so bright right now for some folks.
We're starting with the Dow. The Dow is up 44.81 points. Sorry, I'm getting all these updates. And then S&P 500 was up 14.08 points, and the NASDAQ was up 103.11 points. Now for sector performance, in our top three, we have energy, tech, and consumer discretionary. And then for the bottom three, we have real estate, health, and utilities. Health and utilities were the only ones that were negative for the day. Then for our pick performance, as you know, if you follow the Come Up series on Instagram at that Come Up series, you will see all of our recent picks. There's about 24 of them. And the top three out of that 24 is Roku coming in with a 52-week high, followed by Twilio and AMD. Then for our bottom feeders, this is not too cute. We got XLI, NVIDIA, and Taiwan Semiconductor. Y'all know how I feel about
out of those, how many of those were actually negative for the day?
Well, the ones that were negative, I think it was only Taiwan Semiconductor was the only one that was negative, and not even by that much. Not even by that much.
Interesting.
Yep. It was only negative by like 0.33%.
Yeah.
So not even half a point, but everyone else was green.
Okay.
So you can see we have some sector rotation back into, you see people moving over to tech as we get like vaccine news and all that. So there is that. Today, another 52-week high that has to be put on the record. It just has to be put on the record. Besides Roku, my stock crush, Tesla, 52-week high. So we had two.
Talk about it.
For today.
I'll be having it.
Yeah, so Tesla, Tesla's out here doing its thing. It is. It is.
We gotta talk
So
about. Are we gonna talk about any of this later on today? You know.
yes, I want to talk about. I want to talk about Nvidia's earnings.
Okay.
We could talk a little bit about Roku because it's on our picks.
Okay.
And then we have a whole host of questions from the cousins. But before we get to those questions, I want to talk to our guest.
Yes.
What's going on?
All right. So welcome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to link up with some of the great minds and be a part of the conversation.
Well, it's cool because we always hear you on Clubhouse, so it's cool for you to be here on the Come Up series on this side, on the YouTube side of life. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you've been a highly requested person to like literally bring onto the show, and it's like people feel that energy in Clubhouse, so we felt like it was kind of like necessary, right? Where it's just like, for those in whom which that are unfortunately not on Clubhouse, let's bring some of that energy here, because man, okay, I'm excited. As you can see, when I'm at a loss for words, it's going down today.
Someone's about to geek out, but I do want to put on the record, y'all, to the Come Up cousins. Whatever happens in Clubhouse, we make sure it gets back to the Come Up Cousins Facebook page. If there's anything that is like a particular note, I make notes, and y'all know I stay heavy with the notes. I make sure that we cover it in a video. So just calm down. Don't come for me, y'all. Okay. I'm not in charge of Clubhouse. Mark is not in charge of it. Q's not in charge of it. But we do realize that, not everyone has an invite into an iPad or a iPhone. So we do try to bring the information back. So I promise you're not missing out on anything because we bring it back. Okay. So I just want to put that out there before my messages go crazy.
Okay. So Q.
Yes.
You have a hell of a story. I mean, clearly, since the day that I first came in contact with you, it was just like, oh man, I think our first conversation, we went like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I had been looking for you. When I saw you on EYL, I had messaged you, and I messaged you on the Come Up series page. So I figured at the time it was like, I just got started. So I'm like, maybe he'll see my message, because I always look to have conversations with brothers who look just like me, who I can relate to, because I'm in an industry where everybody around me doesn't look like me, and it's hard to have certain conversations, or even just have fun and dialogue and talking about certain things. So I saw you and I sourced you out, and it was funny because God's timing is always funny. And so you messaged me like, yo, I see you doing your thing. I'm like, yo, I've been looking for you, man. And it's like, we linked up and we talked like about 4 hours, and it was just dope to connect with her brother who's doing his thing, who's like-minded, and just like, it's just fun. It gives you more inspiration and more passion to kind of keep going. So it's been dope ever since. It's been magic, I would say, ever since then.
It's been magic.
That's so sweet. Representation really does matter.
Here you go. You're not going to have 2 black men on screen blush. Let's stop that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
You have an amazing story. So for those who don't have the privilege of being able to know your story of how is it that you went from, because you started off as an athlete until this day. I mean, he still is an athlete, but in a different change of pace to now working in the same industry that we love talking about every single day. So you know what? Q, we give you the stage, brother. Go ahead. Talk your stuff.
How did you get here?
I'll preface about 2 things. One, I'm through the grace of God. I'll say that. God has his hands on me. I can't say that I got here without that. And I'm very lucky. I'm going to tell you those 2 things. The combination of the 2 are how I got where I got. And so, growing up in a single parent household as a black young man in New York, you don't really know anything other than like basketball, rapping, and possibly like selling drugs or doing something wild, right? And I'm nice at ball because I'm tall, I'm not built for jail, and I'm not rapping. So luckily for me, basketball was my not way out, but just my way to a higher education. Now, in doing that, it became my crutch. And so I wasn't the best student in high school or growing up at times because I was so obsessed with basketball. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to the league. And if I don't go to the league, I'm gonna go overseas. And so as much as basketball helped me, it kind of hurt me. It hindered me because it was my crutch. I could always go back to it. And so if you told me, Q, you need to get a 95 or you can't play tomorrow, I'll get 100. And my coach would be like, yo, fam, why can't you just do that every time? I'm like, I like pressure. It just makes me feel better when there's more pressure on the line, right? And so, playing, I was all state. I made a couple like Street Smith All-American, Parade All-American, stuff like that. And I did well. Ended up going to college, still basketball in my brain. And I didn't realize how much of a business basketball was, right? Because it's been fun my whole life. So I get to college, my coach retires, and I think, hey, they're going to give it to one of the assistants. They fire the whole staff and bring a whole new staff in. And that was a wake-up call, right? Because now the guys that are coaching didn't recruit me. They don't have any interest in me, right? Maybe I'm here, maybe I'm not. And I found a way to a different school because I felt like the fit was better. When I got to my second school, I had a chance just like this to talk to my advisor. And we had like maybe a half an hour convo, and she never looked down at her notebook. She never like looked at my grades. We just talked. And at the end of the conversation, she looks down at my grades. She goes, yo, you're way more intelligent than your grades would lead me to believe. But the good thing about you transferring is that your GPA starts at 0. So no one's going to ever know you were an average student. You have a chance to change the narrative on who you are as a person. And after about 20 some odd years of my mom, my coaches, my family beating in my head, somehow her words connected more than anybody else's, and it seeped in my brain. And I took school a lot more serious in the coming years. And being that I was a captain of the basketball team, you have to go to certain events to represent the team. So, you go to these kind of fundraisers and stuff. They have this thing called the President's Dinner. So it's like a really big event where everybody's there, the board of directors, the chairman, the president. It's all you can drink, all you can eat. Now, as a 21-year-old, I'm not going there with no intention other than to eat mad food and to get drunk. That was my only 2 goals. I didn't care about nothing else. And I'm so real with it. I took aluminum foil plates back to the dorm. I went to the staff, like, listen, what are y'all gonna do with all this food? Because I know everybody's gonna eat it. I was in the kitchen with it. I came back to the dorm like Jesus with the bread and the fish. Like, yo, we lit, let's go. And so one of my good friends at the time was a part of like the event planning committee. So they pay college kids money to break down the events, set the events up. So I said to him, I'm saying, yo, I was popping. Y'all do that all the time? He goes, yeah. So all right, bet. So I got my Vince Vaughn on, and I would just get in a suit and I would pop up to events uninvited and just walk in. And I would party, have a good time, and I would leave with like 30 business cards.
Yo, talk about that suit, by the way, because that like.
So I'm gonna get to the suit. So I will leave with business cards, architecture, accountant, law firms, a gluttony of different things. Like, hey, come work for me. And at the time, I wanted to go to law school. I figured, hey, I don't really know what I want to do. Law school buys me 2 more years. It pays pretty well. I don't know a broke lawyer, so I'll do that. And so I went to intern for a lawyer, but he's like, I want to have lunch with you first. So he breaks down law school to me. And he's like, listen, man, like, I don't know if you want to go that route. It's a lot of debt. There's nothing guaranteed. I'm like, all right. He's like, but before you make your decision, I want to take you to another dinner. So he takes me to Fairfield's multicultural scholarship dinner. And I meet a gentleman who is working on Wall Street at the time. And he goes, you remind me of myself at your age. And he's like, listen, I want to help you, but I got to know you're serious. I want you to call me every day for the month of May at 5 a.m., not 5:01. And not 4:59, but at 5 a.m. I want you to call me. If you could do that for a month, I'll put you on. Do it for the month. He puts me on. I end up working on Wall Street, getting an internship. I leave that summer with my Series 7 and my Series 63 and get introduced to a world that would change my life and change the way I think about life. And so I knew that I didn't know a lot, but I knew that I'm competitive. And if I can run 10 miles and play ball, I can associate the same difference. So I had the Will Smith look from Pursuit of Happiness. I had one suit from Sims. I had a French cuff Sean John shirt, light blue. I think I still have it actually as a memorabilia. I had a gold tie with light blue in it, and I had no shape up. And I ended up leaving the intern program as the #1 intern and be able to get like an offer to come back after I was done with school to work for them. And so that began my journey. And not knowing anything about the world and not knowing anything about that was my introduction.
So question, because when you came into the industry, you came in during a time where wasn't that around the same time of the financial crisis?
Yes. So it was exactly when the crisis happened. So like that was like my intro to like what was going on, because like we're in this financial crisis. So like when you do work, I'm working on an intern salary. And at the time I think I was making like $1,200 a month. But it cost me about $400 to get to work. So let's just say I lived off of fast food and dumplings, because Wall Street's really close to Chinatown. So I would walk to Chinatown and go to the dumpling shop. You can get about 8 dumplings for $2. So there's no way my sodium levels were not through the roof, because I lived with sriracha, soy sauce, and dumplings. But like I said, I knew that if I can make it through this, I'm gonna be okay. And so I found my way into private wealth management as an assistant. And when I came in, everybody was like, well, why are you an assistant? Like, you have your licenses. And I'm like, I just need stable income. Like, I'm not trying to take no kind of steps or do anything. I just need to make some bread. I've made $1,200 for the last 6 months. Okay, I'm starving and I don't have a haircut. I need a shape up and a good meal. And what I figured out there was older guys that work in that industry don't necessarily want to take on too much work, right? They want to spend time with their family. It's more about quality of life. So I would go to them and say, hey, listen, I'll take on some of the people you don't want to deal with. If you give me a little cut here and there, we call it even. Worked out for me. And I did the same thing at a couple of different shops where I would go in and do the same thing. And I had a conversation with a mentor of mine. He goes, kind of got this figured out. Like, you're taking 2-hour lunches, like you're having a great time, like, you're doing your thing, but there's more for you. Like, why don't you go to the investment banking side? So I'm like, well, how do I get there? He's like, well, we'll figure out a way. But I think if you got there, it would change the vertical of your career, and you'll be able to put more of your skills to work, and you'll be a lot more successful than you are now if you just stay here in your comfortable zone. I think you need to get more uncomfortable about life, because you seem to work well under pressure. And so I ended up getting to a really, really small desk where you had to do everything. So it was like the best and worst experience, because you're so busy, but you're learning so much. So over the time of working on a smaller desk, I became a Swiss Army knife, because I understood how the business is connected and how everything worked. So I was able to do all the different jobs. And so when I got my next opportunity, I was able to fit in a little bit better because I understood how things connected together. And so I was able to put my passion for being competitive, my passion for my legacy, the reason why I work hard, all those things together, mirror with finance. And when I realized that, number one, people around there don't look anything like me, which means that the people that I connect with every day are probably not knowledgeable about the things I'm knowledgeable about. And so, being in that part, I'm very grateful to be here, but I also have to acknowledge that I have work to do myself to give that back. And so working there, I was like, all right, this is dope. And, you make some good money, and you kind of start living your life. And kind of what led me was the pandemic, because you kind of live your life and you don't really pay too much mind. You might tell your friend something, hey man, look for this or do this. But when the pandemic hit, I realized, like, when I started talking, people started listening. And it's like weird to me, because like I think I'm smart, but I don't think I'm like brilliant or anything like that. I think I work in something, so I know about it. But the more people started to listen to me, the more I realized my voice was needed. And so it's like been dope, because like literally my journey has started off with passion, and it's almost transferred and handed my passion to another passion, which is helping people who look just like me be better and be more equipped for the world. Because it's almost like the Matrix. Like, we think, oh, this one world exists. And it's like, okay, this is how things are. And it's like, that's not how things are. That's not the world we live in. There's a screen that you're not looking at that's behind that. That's how the world works. And people have been shocked and surprised to find this out, right? They're like, oh my God, I didn't know about XYZ. So I think like my story is fitting, because I live by the mantra, you are where you're supposed to be. And so it's funny, because like I said, I saw Mark, and I go, that's an intelligent brother. And I would love just to have a conversation with him just to chop it up, because I love seeing people of color that are doing phenomenal things, that are well-versed, that are well-spoken. And I would just love to have a conversation. And for Mark to message me while seeing me on the platform is like, that's God's timing. That's not me or Mark. That's just, you are where you're supposed to be. We had a conversation and we talked for 4 hours and we connected, and everything that we've done has been organic. So it's like, you are where you're supposed to be. And so I think that mantra lives within my passion, but it lives within my story, because it's so non-traditional. People think when they see me, oh, you've been bred for this. I'm like, nah, I had no clue this existed 10 years ago. I literally was a basketball player. I had no work experience up until that year. Like I never had a job. I played basketball my whole life, and I thought that's what I was gonna do. And when finances brought to me, I thought, and I said, okay, if I go overseas, right, best case scenario, I make $100,000 for 10 years. What can I do when I get back here that I can make $100,000? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ultimately setting myself up for failure. And so that was even more of a driver to be like, all right, this is my golden ticket. This is a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket for me to change the narrative for myself. Because when people talk to me from high school, like, what do you do nowadays? I'm like, oh, I work in corporate investment banking. They're like, you? C student? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Right. And it's like I've changed the narrative on who I am. And then I'm able to change the generational shift of my future family and the family that I live with now. And I'm able to be a resource to my friends and family. And so, like I said, when you jumble that up with passion and purpose, it's becoming a large part of my legacy. And I'm if everybody that knows me knows I'm big on legacy, because what happens is that you don't get to tell your story. The people that you come in contact with tell your story. So you can't leave it to doubt. It has to be, the numbers are the numbers. If somebody averaged 30 points a game, you can't take that away from that man. He averaged 30 points a game. The numbers are the numbers. And legacy for me and purpose, all those things mixing together, my drive to continue to get better, I think it all matched, and kind of the maturation process is what you see here today. So you don't see the finished product, but you see the sum of my failures and my successes, right? That equation is what you see now. So a lot of times people equate like, oh, you've done, no, I mess up. I blew money. I had bad credit. Like I'm a human being. I just never let things define me, or I never let it stop me from growing as a person, because the commodity is knowledge. And so if I have that, I'm always going to be rich. Like,
what do you think your great grandchildren will say about you?
Or
what would you like for them to say?
That, I think for me, is character integrity. Like that man, like anybody speak about me, that man had character, that man had integrity. Being solid is not an option, it's a lifestyle. And I would want them to know who I was, not what I had. Because no one's going to talk about what you had. Like, rich people die every day. No one goes, hey, you had a good car collection, man. They're going to talk about three things, right? How you looked, how you smelled, and how you made them feel. Right? Those are the first three things people remember about you. And how you made them feel is really, really important. And so how I try to make people feel is that I want them to know that this guy has character, he has integrity, he has passion, he moves with a purpose. And so when my great grandchildren hear about me, they go, you know what? That's a guy I want to be like. I want those principles. I want to reflect him because he stood for something. And so, like I said, that for me, those things mean more than anything else, because you can't buy those things. I can't buy your respect. Either you respect me or you don't respect me. But there's a reason why you do both, or either. You either respect me because of the quality that you admire about me, or you don't respect me because of the qualities that I don't have, or I lack because of lack of self-awareness and knowledge. And so those things really, really matter and resonate with me, because, like I said, I don't get to tell my story. If I'm not here tomorrow, I want Cass to be able to say, yo, that was a solid dude. And to be able to tell my family, yo, listen, I know he's not here. That's a solid guy. You know, if somebody saw my grandkids say, yo, your grandfather, that dude, man, that was a good dude. That means more than say, hey, he had mad money. It's not a validation for something. I think a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we validate paper. That's all it is. If you rip it up, it doesn't exist. And they can always print more paper. Right? They always print more paper.
Those things can all burn.
It can, right? But you can't burn down legacy no matter how much you try. Like, that's why it's so valuable, because, like, if you think about it, like, all the great people that we talk about, that we continuously talk about and that we quote, and that they're not rich people in terms of being wealthy, having a lot of money. They just were able to teach people something. They cared, they pushed for change, and you can't strip them of that. No matter how much history wants to take away or not acknowledge, it's still there. And so for me, that's the ultimate goal, is it's to match that purpose and that passion together. And obviously you want to have money and live a good life, but I think that comes with the commodity of knowledge, if that makes sense.
It does. And speaking of history, who's the ancestor that you most closely identify with, or that resonates deeply with you?
Probably my grandfather, because of the basketball tie. So my grandfather was the second Black Rookie of the Year in NBA history. Now, I think, like I said, for me, basketball is such a big part of my life. He resonates with me because that's his legacy, right? And I think the dope part about it is that I'm able to make that a part of my legacy, but that's not who I am, and that's not the finished product. Like I always say, it's like a million miles to manhood, right? Because manhood is never finished. You're constantly evolving as a man because there's new challenges. There is going to be new things you face, new obstacles, new ways of thinking, new evolution. So I think I was able to take that basketball part at the beginning of my life and say, okay, he was a great high school player, a good college player. But now as a man, he was a great man, or he was a great thinker. He's that evolution next step. And I'm hoping that, when I have my family, my grandkids, they take that and they evolution hits that one and go, okay, well, good at basketball, great thinker, right? What's next? What's the next chain of evolution? I have to drive that. And to drive that, I have to present opportunity, and I have to continually to critically think. Because a lot of times we don't critically think. We're taught to raise your hand if you have a question, do this, do that. And it almost herd people like cows, right? People like cows, and the people who go a little bit more to the right, they usually get rid of, because you're taking the other cows with you, because the cows are following the other cows. And so for me, it's the evolution. The more I evolve, the more the next generation evolves. And it's deeper than that for us, right? And this thing where we want to help people evolve mentally through the market, because the more they evolve, the more they help their family and friends. And that evolution is important from a timing aspect. We don't have time to waste. We're 400 years behind. We're running behind schedule. And I said it before on other platform, it's never the school, right? The students make the university, right? The university doesn't mean anything if the students don't accomplish anything after they leave that school.
Right.
It's useless. All the best universities, you put all this sauce on their name. It's like, yeah, that's dope, but like, that's not your work. That's their work.
Yeah, it's like when you think about like students that have gone to like, any school, like, like the Harvards of the world, you can pull up who graduated from Harvard that is reputable to say, okay, hey, this person went to Harvard. You don't go to like, you don't think of Harvard in the sense of, oh, well, they have these, they have all these great programs. You look at the product of the people in which they come from those programs. Same thing from HBCUs or wherever the school may be. You look at the product of the student, the caliber of who came out of the university, and then it's like, all right, that's who people identify with.
Yeah, it's crazy that you have to pay $50,000 for them to live off the back of your legacy. Right, like you're paying $3,000 a year for them to live off the back of your legacy and charge cash more for your accomplishments. And not that they don't have a purpose in your growth, right? But like when you think about the structure of that, that's nuts. I mean, that's why I think I said legacy matters, because like that's what really grasped me at the beginning of my journey in finance. Was like, yo, I have a chance to change like my legacy, because people don't view me as intelligent. They view me as the basketball player. And even when I stopped playing ball, people are like, oh, you're crazy. Why don't you go overseas? You're nuts, blah, blah. And I'm like, you only think that because you think I'm only good at basketball. So it becomes a confidence thing where like, all right, number one, I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm uber competitive because my parents, my cousins never let me win. They used to dunk on me. I caught my mom cheating at Monopoly when I was 8 years old to change my life. I see my mom go in the I went to the bathroom and my mom went to grab $500 out the little joint. I said, I caught you. And I'm like, damn, you got to be the 8-year-old. You got to cheat. So the fact that nobody ever let me win, I'm uber competitive. And now I have people telling me that I'm dumb for not choosing basketball, which was like kind of a short stay. And to me, that's them telling me that basketball defines me, and it didn't. So I knew I had more to give, but it was on me because I had potential, and that's just what it is. Potential is just the ingredients until you cook it. That's all it is. I got the ingredients, but I needed to get in the kitchen and do the work to prepare it correctly. And so once I took accountability for, all right, I wasn't a great high school student. I was an okay college student, but these opportunities came, and it doesn't matter what happened in the past, because I have a chance to redefine the future. There's way more value in redefining the future than correcting the past. And so from there, like I said, it kind of led me in, and look, I'm sitting here in front of two of the most brilliant African-American people that I've come in contact with as far as the markets and just overall. So I think it worked out perfectly for me. It's just, like I said, I live by that mantra, and, I try to stay within my principles of who I am, because you never lose yourself. That's the ultimate value.
I have another question. I know we have news to cover, but
it's okay. Like, I have a feeling that we will probably be going over, and I'm okay with that. And I think that ultimately this will probably bring even greater value than my IG live afterwards. So Today I got time, cuz.
Speaking of cousins, okay, so you've been talking a lot about legacy and future, and that is totally our vibe. Like, we are working right now to build legacy, to build future, and to pass down these ways of not just making money, but like thinking and all that. So my question for you is, what advice do you have for the come up cousins? But then also, in particular, what advice do you have for the come up cousins that are a part of the one contract gang, as far as it relates to like building up liquidity and just like how they're starting out and graduating from one contract gang, and thinking bigger.
The one thing I would say, I think it maybe fits both, is that you have to enjoy the journey as much as you enjoy the destination. And I think people have heard me say it before, because I think that a lot of times we're in such a rush to get to our destination. It happens to me all the time. Like, when things are normal, I'll be in such a rush to like go home or go back and forth between work. And like, I'll work at Hudson Yards. They have that honeycomb thing and all this stuff. And it's like, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to go home. And I'm in this rush to like, I'm running around tourists. And I'm trying to get to the train and make it home. And I'll go on IG and I'll see people who come from around the world to take pictures in front of the honeycomb thing. And I take it for granted. Like, that's like a structure people come. Or I worked in Midtown and I worked like on Fifth Avenue. I worked by Rockefeller Center. And it's like, I take that tree for granted. I'm trying to swerve people and get home. And it's like, you never take a second to just enjoy where you are. So I think in your journey, when you begin it, you have to enjoy that journey as much as you're going to enjoy the destination. Because if you make the journey enjoyable, the destination is going to be heaven. And even when people go on vacation, a lot of times cats will rush, try to find the cheapest flight. And it's like, if you have to do all that, you're probably not going to enjoy the destination. So I always laugh, because you see cats go to Miami and it's like, all right, somebody will find a $79 flight. They'll sit like this for 3.5 hours. They will then get in an Uber and stay at the top of Biscayne, drive all the way down to Collins and Ocean and take mad pictures, put it on the gram. Yo, we was out here, wet woolly, blah, blah. And that really wasn't their experience. But they wanted to create the experience, and they didn't really even enjoy the city or the culture or whatever it is. And I think when you take your time, whether it's like when you're traveling, you go somewhere for a week, you really get an identity of like what the city's like, the vibe, the culture. You appreciate it a lot more than that 2-day stay, because you didn't really get an idea. You just came to kind of show off. So we talk about the one contract gang liquidity. It's like, yo, you have a purpose. Like, you want to get here, but you have to enjoy the studying. You got to enjoy the grind. You got to enjoy when you're right. You got to enjoy when you're wrong. I do my victory laps when I'm right, because I know I'm going to be wrong at some point in time. So you got to enjoy them successes and pat yourself in the back, because there's going to be days when you're wrong, and them wrong days hurt. Them days hurt when you're like, I'm wrong. And so I think when you encompass it, is that you have to love the journey of getting better. Everybody that was great at something loved the journey of getting better. I think it's weird that people sensationalize Michael Jordan but don't work hard. It's like a weird conundrum to me. Like, people are like, oh my God, Mike is better because he's at the killer instinct. And it's like, well, where's your killer instinct? Why don't you have a killer instinct? You love Mike so much, or, you love this basketball player, football player. This is so great. And it's like, well, not that you're not great, but why don't you exude that since you love it so much? It's like a weird thing that we have in society where like we'll applaud this person for something that we don't think we can do ourselves. So we love them more because they're doing stuff that we probably can do, but we can't get over the mental hurdle. But again, it starts with the journey. The journey is scary because it's like, well, I'm starting, I don't really know what I'm doing. And you get self-conscious and there's all these mental hurdles, right? But if you enjoy that journey and you run through those hurdles, as opposed to trying to jump over them or run around them, you run through that wall to say, you know what? I know it's going to be rough. I'm here. And then you 1 contract, then you 2 contracts, then you got liquidity. But you have to realize that you're going to get punched. You're going to get hit. How bad do you want it? And you have to be relentless in your pursuit, right? And that's just that. You can put a word at the end of that. You got to be relentless in the pursuit of your legacy. You have to be relentless in the pursuit of your liquidity. Whatever you're doing, you need to be relentless in the pursuit. Put whatever word you want at the end of it, but you have to be, because if you're not, then at some point in time, you're going to meet an obstacle that you can't move and that you can't run through. And that's going to leave you where a lot of people are, where they could accomplish more, but they told themselves before they even tried, I can't do it. right? As a Black man in America from a single parent household, society tells me I should be locked up. I shouldn't have a college degree. I should be working, at whatever retailer. I should have this, or, society told me, it tells me what the numbers are. I can accept it and say, you know what? They're right, man. I'm never gonna make it, never gonna do anything. Or you can run through them hurdles. But that comes with self-purpose. And so, like, if I tell anybody anything, enjoy that journey, man, because you don't get that back. Like, you don't get the journey back. Like, when you look at athletes or even in the market, you don't get that moment of eureka back when you're like, oh, it connected. That moment's gone. And now what happens is with people, it's funny, if you think about people and how people's brains work, somebody will make $50,000 a year and they're like, man, if I could just make 75. And they make 75, like, man, if I just make 100, they make 100. If I could just make 200. And it's like,
it's just this consistent climb after climb after climb.
Right. And it's like, but if you look at products, we get an iPhone, it's an incremental increase. The video games, incremental increase. All these things have incremental increases, and people, it's just built into their minds. Like, okay, I need more now. But like 2 months ago, you were grateful for the 75,000. Now you come into work late and you whatever, man. It's like, it's a mindset that you embody with the journey. So it's like, all right, I know that this is not my resting place, but I know I have more to do. But at the end of the day, I still need to enjoy that journey, enjoy starting from the bottom. Like, I started from the bottom of my career and I've enjoyed every piece of it. Has it been perfect? No. Have I been perfect? No. Has there been up and down? Have there been tears of joy, tears of sadness? Yes. Has there been disappointment? Has there been failure? All of that's been present. But it's what drives me, because I know that if I keep on going, there's more behind that door. Right. And I think
need to emphasize one other thing that you said, and this is in context of the one contract game, and I'm just gonna paraphrase for you. But one contract game is not your resting place, y'all. It's just where you started.
It's the starting point.
So I just want to say that.
That's all. That's all it is. Where you start and where you finish, two different things, man. And it's like, it's funny because people equate where they're starting from. Like, they want to be the big dog on day one. But you ain't earned the big piece of chicken. I don't know if you remember that Chris Rock. I don't know if you remember that Chris Rock joint. It's like, oh, the big piece of chicken. It's like, oh, no, you ate it. Now I gotta tie together a wing and a leg. It's like, and I never understood that until I became an adult. And it's like, yo, you work, 10, 12, 13, 14 hours. And I'm like, yo, if I did have a family, I would be tight if somebody ate the big piece of chicken. That's my chicken. I earned that chicken. That's my big piece. You cannot come in the game and demand the big piece of chicken. You ain't put no work in yet. You ain't put no pain in yet. And on top of that, you ain't put nobody on. So if you can't come in and not put nobody on and demand the big piece of chicken, that's not for you. That's for the cats that put the pain in. You have to put that in first. Again, the motto is to reach back so I can pull somebody forward. That's the goal. The goal is that I want to see you win more than I want to see myself win, because that's only going to elevate me. If I elevate 6 people ahead of me and we friends, and I'm the least knowledgeable person in the room now, I have the most to gain. But I help foster that environment. And so it's so important that they have that mentality, because it's never, where you start don't matter. The fact that you started mattered. I don't care that if you got $10, $5, $1,000, it don't matter. The fact that you started. Now keep on going. Don't lose sight of it.
That's the biggest thing right there, because a lot of folks, it's like, just think about how many folks that just never even like start.
Yeah.
Like, think about like millions of people in which that have heard information, that have received knowledge, but yet, and don't get me wrong, if you haven't, for folks out there, if you haven't started yet, I mean, we're not telling you like you just need to immediately go out there and start. Like, if you have a starting plan and everything else, then by all means stick to it. But we're talking about folks in which that consistently have heard this over periods of time. And I always say this, it's like, if you're the type of person that says that, okay, hey, I'm going to do this, like, don't talk prosperity, go and be prosperous. Like, don't talk about like, okay, hey, I'm going to be prosperous, go and build it. And you can't do that by just sitting and just talking about it and then just no action.
Yeah.
So, this is not my day, so I'm going to like you do this thing.
Give them any advice. Like I said, just get started and find your why and hold on to it. And what happens when you hold on to your why, the more you accomplish, the bigger your why gets, because the bigger the game gets for you, because there's more people looking at you. Because you may start and your friends and family go, oh, I'm not doing that, right? There's a stigma around investing, especially people of color. They rather, some people are like, I'm gonna buy lottery tickets. I'm like, well, you'll spend $100 on lottery tickets, but you won't buy a stock. It's wild to me, right? But that's also exposure based, because when I think about myself, I wasn't exposed to this lifestyle until I was like 21, 22. And so it's like, all right, part of it's exposure. Guess what? You're their exposure. So for the people that are around you that never had exposure to these thoughts or ideas, you are it. So it's even now more, it's bigger. The why is bigger now. If the why was just for you to get money, it's now gotten bigger because it's for you to transform how people around you think. And if they see you be successful, anytime they see you be successful, people want to replicate that. How'd you get that? How you do that? And now they want to be a part of it. Now they're engaged, right? And that's what I found. Like the better I got in my career, the more people have kind of respected me as a person at what I do. And like, oh, well, tell me more now. I'm interested because like you've done well. And now it's my opportunity to shift the focus and infuse the conversations a little bit differently. And I still get made fun of all the time. I get it from my mom. I had to get the gab. So my friends make fun of me all the time. But I'm like, listen, I'm giving you knowledge. When I tell you something, it's money talk. Like when I give you my watch list, you're making money. So I can't be talking that much. Huh? Me shut up? Like, nah, don't shut up. Don't shut up. Like, you know what I mean? But the conversation shifted. And so now the conversation's infused with a lot of other things that are fruitful for us. And it's not just who the best rapper is or who the best ball player is or who's going to do this or what we're doing for the weekend, but it's infused with things that matter for us as people have grown because their why got bigger, whether they got married, they got kids, or just people in their family. Hey, man, I got to take care of my mom and my dad, or I need my mom and dad got retirement money. Whatever it's going to be for you, you have to hold on to that. Not just when shit's good. So my French, when things are good, because it's easy. When everybody wins, it's easy, right? We all love each other. You look at the Clippers. The Clippers, it was dope because, oh, you got Kawhi and PG. And that all year, that team never handled adversity well because they don't like each other. You could just tell. They were coworkers. They weren't teammates. And at the first sign of adversity in the playoffs, that thing crumbled. And so potential doesn't matter. Again, when you have the ingredients, you got to cook it. You still got to get in the kitchen. And you got to figure it out. And so that's a big part of your why. And you hold on to your why, and then you enjoy the journey. The in-between between where you started and your destination is going to be so much more valuable than the finish line. And you're going to be like, yo, I learned so much more in this big chunk. Because I can't really, this is the end result right here. The finish line is the end result of the race. So if I run a marathon, I'm going to learn a lot more about myself in that 26 miles than I am at the end. Because that 26 miles is going to be hard. I'm going to learn a lot about myself in that 26 miles. I'm going to cherish the 26 miles more than I am crossing that finish line. The finish line is just the cherry on top of the sundae. And the quicker you get that into your brain, the more enjoyable winning and losing becomes, and the more prominent knowledge becomes.
Speaking of knowledge, I mean, I imagine that, you probably read all the time, a lot, as far as like researching in your profession. What advice do you have for our new investors and, I guess older investors as well, basically the come up cousins, as it relates to like research and setting those research hours and like the kinds of things, like just starting out, like how would you set up your research week?
Just starting out, and people have heard me say this on Clubhouse, but I'll say it again, your diet, what you consume, how you consume, when you consume, where you consume. And so for people who are first getting into this, you have to spend money to make money. Go get that Apple Plus membership for the news joint. Go get Wall Street Journal. Get accustomed to reading because the language is different. And once you understand the verbiage, it's more transferable. I think a lot of times people too will like, you get into it and you start reading stuff and it throws you off because you don't know what this means. You're confused. There's so much stuff going on, all these big words and different things. Get your diet in order. What are you consuming? When you first start off, if you got to read Barron's and Wall Street Journal and, Seeking Alpha and Bar Chart and different things to get your knowledge up of what things mean. And that way you can understand it, because it's funny. I can talk a certain way at work and then I get a phone call. Yo, my dude was popping. It's like my language. I speak 3 languages, right? It's like I speak work, I speak like kind of social, and I speak with my boys. And it's like, so to be able to transfer those things that fast, because I can be on a work call, click over, and all of a sudden now I'm on the call with my boys. Yo, family gonna get popping this weekend. To be able to do that, that's a skill in itself. And once you're able to master that, okay, you were talking to your family, boom, now you're reading something. Now you realize, okay, what headwind and tailwinds mean. So when you hear them say headwind or tailwind on CNBC, you get it. You don't have to pause for a second. So I would say your diet. So get the basics first. You know, what time do you read? When do you read? Are you reading and doing 10 things? Like what's your process, your habit, and what you're doing? So for me, when I first started off, I like tech, media, and consumer because it's a part of my life. I got it. So I got my Barron's membership. I got my Wall Street Journal. I had Seeking Alpha, had a couple other sites, and I said, okay, from 8 to 9, I'm gonna read right before the market opens, so I can figure out what's going on, news-wise, whatnot. Sometime in the middle of the day, I'm gonna pick a half an hour, try to glance, figure out what I'm doing. End of the day, I might take an hour or two and say, let me digest what happened today and read those articles, and nothing hardcore, because if I get to the hardcore research, I'm not ready for that. I had to train my brain. So as I was working, I'm figuring out like, okay, what I like to read so I can retain it. Because if you're reading about oil and gas and you don't care about oil and gas, you're never going to retain the knowledge. So begin to read what you like first, because a lot of times the rotations in those sectors are transferable. It's just different language. That everything kind of happens in the same cycle. It's literally just the verbiage is different. And once you realize, like, okay, when I first got into like reading about oil and gas, talking about like the Balkan and all these things, I'm like, what the hell is the Balkan and what's this and all these different drilling things, and you can lease land and you can sell land, you can lease minerals. I'm like, what? I was like, I'm going back over here to tech. I'm not rocking with that. But once I mastered understanding how tech works, I'm like, oh, this is like tech, and I can start to associate things. Also, like I'm the analogy king. Associate things with things you already understand. So a lot of times I'll associate a company with a basketball franchise. I know basketball. So if I can associate different things, it helps me learn it a lot faster, because I'm like, okay, well, if I look at the Knicks, what stock would they be? And then if I look at a team, what's the team like compared to a company, right? The owner would be the CEO, the GM would be the CFO, the coach would be the COO. And then that teaches me, okay, I can't just own a company without learning who the management is, because those are the guys that are pulling the levers. Too often.
I gotta ask you a question, Q.
Yeah.
What company would be the New York Knicks?
Right now, they'll probably be GE. They need to sell a lot of assets. But listen, let's just say right now New York is like Ford or GM, right? But if they had Mark Cuban as the owner, they would be Tesla right away. So like again, like if you think about ownership, I always say, like, you look at the Knicks, it's not a business line thing, right? It's not like a basketball makes money. MSG is the number one arena in the world. New York's a great city, right? It's an ownership thing. It starts with the CEO, because the CEO controls the CFO and the COO and the board of directors like that. So if they just change their owner, the valuation of the team would skyrocket and the trajectory of the team would skyrocket. So you almost like if you said Elon Musk takes over Ford or GM, it would go, right? Because you're bringing innovation to the table. But for me, that helps me because I can grasp the knowledge faster. So I think associating things also helps. So if you take, okay, get your schedule and habit in order, read what you like so you understand it faster, and then be able to associate it to things that you naturally enjoy. I think that's going to help you in your path, or at least get you a little bit further earlier in how you're doing things, because your brain's going to pick it up really fast. And now you're less intimidated to read those research articles that you're going to pay for. And because those words go over your head, you're not going to be scared to keep on going. And so I think that if I can give that advice, I think that's, to me, the most prominent thing that I can give and inform those steps. Like, what's your habits like? Your habits form your days form your months, your months form your years. So if you have bad habits on a daily, you're going to have bad habits on a monthly, you're going to have bad habits on a yearly, you're going to stunt your own growth. But if my habits are great, I'm going to get better every day. I'm going to get better every week, every month, every year. I'm going to continually get better because I'm continually looking at my habits and how to reshape them to fit what I'm doing. And so the more knowledgeable I've gotten, the more my habits have changed. Some for the good, some for the worse. But that's for me to reassess, and that's a Quentin thing. I have to well, you know what? Spend a little too much time doing this, or hey, you need to, go do this a little bit more, and you figure it out. But your habits are going to tell me a lot about you. Because, like, again, I always say, if you are the CEO of your life, so as a CEO, you have to control your company. And if you look at yourself as a person and go, would other people invest in you? Not in what you're doing, but just invest in you. And if the answer is no, that's a CEO problem. That's
so
not
you brought up innovation. And earlier I was talking to Mark about this. Our girl, Kathy Wood over there at ARK Invest, she talks about, given how there are like all these new investors, and she was looking at the way that new investors invest, and they're leaning, towards things that deal with like innovation. And she mentioned that, and I'm totally paraphrasing, but she mentioned that index funds and things like that are going to be obsolete because they don't have the same returns as some of these other like ETFs. And even if you look at the, ARK Invest funds, like they're like top performing. So my question for you is, especially I think about like what we're doing just with the Come Up Cousins and everything, they're learning how to invest and think for themselves. They're going to pass that down to their children and so on and so on and so on. So there's not going to be like necessarily this need to put your money in an index fund to set and forget it. So I'm curious about what your take is on the future of index funds.
I think they drive enough money to where they can shift. So like if you look at funds, right, I think that maybe you get less passively managed funds and a lot more actively managed funds, and those fees change because now the active managers who are really good can charge more fees. So in an active portfolio now, a 0.5 to 0.75 fee which is a lot, right? It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, is the kind of the baseline for what you're going to pay. I think those fees go up and the brilliant minds cost more money. So if you want to lay like that, that's going to manage your money. That fee is going to be a buck, $1.05 for them to come up with different ideas of innovation, because it's going to be more actively managed. I think we're in the passive age where low expense ratios, you set it and forget it. That ARK fund changed the game. People don't talk about this about the ARK fund. They don't use the normal model of sectors. They use like business lines for how they judge companies. And that's why Tesla's in a lot of different portfolios. If you notice, Tesla's in a lot of portfolios. Why? Because they have their car analysts, they have their bit tech analysts, they have their solar analysts, like all these, like they have like 7 analysts that cover the name, which is very non-traditional of a manager. But again, back to innovation and back to how it's going to scale out. They're well positioned because when you look at that, I don't think anybody's noticed that. I was looking at it like last year or a couple months ago, and I'm like, yo, that's dope that they look at the world different already ahead of everybody else. And to me, that justifies their fee. So I'm like, all right, well, 0.5 or 0.75, I'll pay that because you're ahead of the curve. You're going to where the puck is and not where the puck is at right now. And so I don't think it's the demise of ETF. I think that the same way mutual funds dominated for a long time, and then here comes ETFs. I think we'll get another combo investment. But for the most part, I think that we're going to get way more actively managed things, that the fees will go up. And now the gap gets this wide because now all the brilliant minds taking the money and not the guys who could put together a basic portfolio of winners. It's who can pivot on the down days, who can pivot in an election year, who can pivot when a disaster strikes. Like the people who are able to swerve the market and really be active in their funds and make the right moves are going to be the winners long term. But again, when you teach your kids this, right, it's scalable. We're having this conversation now. As things transpire, they're going to be able to see a different market. They're going to see the same way our parents saw mutual funds come in the 80s and 90s, and that was the thing. You get yourself a mutual fund at 5 to 7%, and you retire. It's like your mindset's changed to ETFs. Like, yo, I don't want to own a mutual fund. There's no, why? What am I owning it for? Right? I think you get to that point with passive ETFs, but I think that actively managed ETFs are going to be the wave. And I think that because you're actively managed, you'll probably get a smaller amount of names in there, right? Because a lot of times give me the good stuff. Now, some of these portfolios have 333 names, 107 names. So you're paying for some stuff you don't want. It's like cable. You watch 13 channels, you pay $500. Like it's like the worst model ever, but it works, right? Because those other channels pay for the channels you don't watch. So I think like when you look at like ETFs, I look at like cable. Give me the streaming. Give me ESPN a la carte. Give me Disney. Give me all those things a la carte. I'd rather pay up for the a la carte and get rid of the channels I'm not going to watch. And I think you'll get that moving forward. But the kids of tomorrow will be way more informed about the market and how the market moves, and they'll be able to pivot in the future.
So I don't know if you're familiar, but with the Come Up Cousins, you know, they're all scholars. I'm sure you know that part. But they do this thing called Sector Sundays. And they take on a sector and present it to the rest of the cousins, and they all like take turns researching. So effectively, we keep this going. They're going to be those industry and sector experts.
Yeah.
Informing others on what to move, like how, you know, what's defensive, what's cyclical. They're going to know all of that stuff.
That's what's fire. I think Mark said on Clubhouse when he was like, yo, don't trade 20 names. Like learn the companies. Like trade 3 names. Like learn how they move on different. Get familiar with the company. I think like trading, though trading is like speed dating and long-term investing, like a relationship. You still have to incorporate some of those principles in trading. Like they kind of, you know, they're different, but they're the same in some aspects. Like learn why this company is trading that way, or what the consensus is around people who have money. Sometimes it's opportunity costs. And I think people like lose sight of that because you see a company, you see the company ran $12 that day and you want to be a part of that. And then you run into the company and the next day it's down $5. You're like, what happened? I thought it was hot. And it's like, no, this consensus was that was the 52-week high. You bought at the absolute high. Now you have to wait another 7 months to get your money back. And you're sitting there, you're tight. Because you're like, yo, why did I buy at the high? But you didn't know because you didn't know the company. And you didn't know, is this a rotational play? Is this a seasonal play? You know, cough, cough. The company you brought up the other day. I'm not gonna say no names for legal purposes. You know, and so is it a rotational play? Is it a seasonal play? Did something change about the company? Again, being critical thinkers win. And there's a brilliance to critically thinking because you get to a point where you push the envelope because you stop believing the BS that you're being told. And so like when you think about guys like Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates and Elon Musk, yeah, they're brilliant, but they're critical thinkers. So when they got to that point, we go, Elon, there's no way they could do. Shut up. I know there is. I did the research. Shut up. Move. You're not thinking. And it's like, get out the way. Because when innovation comes, either you have to get on the train or it's going to run you over. You can't stop it. You can't. But that comes with how you think. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's like, yo, it's coming. You can't stop it. How you think about it is going to affect whether or not you're on the right side of history or on the wrong side of history. And you have to be able to. I'll say this, right? Nostalgia makes liars out of all of us. And I say that all the time to people because you let nostalgia get into your brain, and the nostalgia makes you a liar because you don't want to accept certain things that are true. Whether you like them or not, it is what it is. And so once you let go of nostalgia and you let go of emotion, because again, money is not emotional, transactions aren't emotional, people are emotional. You make that emotional. Like the money is never emotional. I've never pulled money out of my pocket and said, no, don't give me away. Don't buy that. Emotional. Money's never told me don't buy that. They've never done that because the money and the transactions aren't emotional. Because again, they don't care about the equation. They care about the end result. Whenever I go somewhere to buy something, they never ask me, "Hey Q, is this drug money?" They don't care. Maybe they think I'm a drug dealer. I don't know, but they never stop and say, "Hey man, is this legal money?" No, you know why? They care about the transaction. Hey man, give me that money. Get this iPhone. And so once you remove that and understand that I want to be on the right side of innovation because like, I've seen it come cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, and everybody that's trying to stop it is underneath it. And so I think it starts with how we think, and we have to critically think, and we can't accept every answer that's given to us because when you do, you stop researching, you stop asking questions. And that's the key to life is to continually ask questions. That's how we've gotten, they were cold. Well, what do? We create fire because we were cold, but we had to ask a question. Well, what do you do now? If you just say we cold, I'm just going to sit here and do this, we never get fire. And it's like when you think about cars, somebody made the car, but somebody made like the TVs and the headrests. So they made money off the idea. Somebody's like, make the seatbelts or make this or add that. Remember years ago, the selfie stick, that was the thing. Remember that? It was the thing.
Yeah.
Selfie was the thing. Why? Somebody said me add that to the phone. It didn't add any value to the phone. It was just a thing. It's gone now. But that person made mad money because they were like, well, what people want to take selfies? I'm gonna make it easy for you. Here's a stick. And
yeah,
so
legit a stick.
thinkers win. And if you accept answers, that's on you. And you accept the fate of that answer. Now, the answer still could be right, but do your homework first. Validate the answer. And a lot of times when you validate the answer, you're going to find another problem. And if you find another problem, there's always money in solving the problem. I've never seen somebody solve problems for free. Verizon didn't call you and say, hey, man, you don't got phone service. Let me give it to you for free. They're like, hey, man, you need a cell phone. We'll give you a plan for $90. What's up? And it's like, yo, anybody that solves problems makes money. Everybody in your life that solves your problem, you're hungry, food, that solves the problems. You're bored, your phone solves the problem. You need a laptop, Apple solves the problem. Problem solvers make money. So once you ask questions and you get to the problem, that's where the money's at.
Let's check in with Mark because he looks like he's over there hyperventilating. Mark, we gotta check in on you, brother. We gotta check in on you.
Yo, man, I'm over here I'm like the person like when Q's like doing his thing, like, yo, this is like a game where Q is like dropping 60 points. And I'm like, go. So whenever you need me, I am here for you. It may seem like it may be that the Come Up series does a legendary episode where we go 2 hours. So
crazy.
Well, I do want to shift gears a little bit here. We had some questions from the cousins. Let me just pull those up right quick.
Yo, Q, how you feeling over there? Like,
I'm good, man. As I said, I'm always humble just to add to the conversation, man. Like, it's like dope just because like the energy is dope. And like I said, I've never had a chance to really have these conversations. So it's like years of waiting just to really be around people who are like-minded and to be able to help people. So yeah, no, I'm always humbled, man. Like if anybody knows me or if you reach out to me, I always say thank you. I'm always very gracious because like you don't gotta listen to me. You don't listen. My family don't listen to me, so it's weird being listened to.
I'm over here. So I've been sitting over here on the sideline sipping and be like, yo, shine on, brother, shine on.
So okay, I'm looking at, we got a lot of questions from the cousins, and there's different themes. So let me just see if I can consolidate these right quick. All right, so we have some questions that deal with, in general, COVID-19 as far as a shutdown and then also stimulus.
Okay.
And then we have some questions about Roblox, obviously Tesla.
You know what, tonight, Jolene, we're going to do something a little special.
What are we going to do?
Let's bring on the smoke. Like, give us all the smoke. Ready for it?
All right, let's do it then.
We can handle it, right? Let's bring the smoke.
I'm not going to paraphrase these questions. This is a lightning round. You guys ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so here's the only rule is that whatever your answer is, keep it within 30 seconds.
Okay.
So
it's not fair. Like,
it is fair.
I'm gonna do my best, man.
You want a minute? You want 1 minute? There's so many questions. I figured 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, it'll be very discretionary.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Are y'all ready?
Go ahead.
First up, Microsoft new security chip.
That's Mark's area.
Say that one more time.
Microsoft's new security chip. Whatever comes to mind in the 30 seconds.
Long road coming, about time. Welcome to the party. We've been waiting for you. Completely expected.
Okay.
Essentially, though, hopefully just make sure you get good profit margins in the process.
Top flight security of the world, Craig. Of the world.
All right. Here goes one. Talk about Tesla Dojo supercomputer and how it will be a catalyst for the company. Go. 30 seconds.
Who's it for?
Doesn't matter.
You're Tesla rep.
Oh, I mean, if we're talking about Tesla Dojo,
that's you.
I mean, come on. I mean, clearly, game changer, leader. You're looking at the next leader, possible $1,400 price target for the stock. I think that what they're going to do across the board when we even factor it, well, I don't know if there's another question coming about, but you may want to pay attention to insurance. And for anybody that knows the insurance world, that's a very, very big market cap.
And as you say that, I got what's the name on my phone to update my iOS software. So I think about, you know, the constant updates that come with certain softwares that are lended to certain vehicles that have a brain for themselves, and, you know, cars talking to other cars and different things of that nature. So
I'm just going to say this also. If you think about Tesla as a software update, just imagine this. Every software update makes it feel like it's a brand new car. Name another car company that can do that. Don't worry, I'll wait.
You won't have to wait because we passed the 30 seconds. All right, next up, Roblox. IPO, Roblox.
I'm not touching.
I'm not touching.
Okay. VFC.
Well, when it's, it's a cold world out there. Bundle up.
I'll say this: seasonal rotation play mixed in with a bunch of tailwinds of possible earlier stimulus than we think. Yep. And on top of that, we're going to get a cold winter because we haven't had one in a year. So bundle up.
Shout out to the North Face.
Shout.
I was just looking at jackets yesterday. I was like, it's getting cold. Okay. Advantages of Square having a minority stake in Satispay, Italian mobile pay app.
I think the jury's still out there, but I think that it's a good opportunity. But it's like, I would like to see exactly what that solidifies to. I mean, minority stake, okay.
Yeah, that number doesn't mean anything until you actually put numbers on the board. Minority is just a minority. I don't know what that number signifies until I see what the revenues are from that.
Okay. Should we be concerned about the ARK Investments takeover?
I ain't got one insurgent friend.
All right.
We have a long road to go.
Okay. How will the state restrictions affect the market?
Runs back to defensive stocks, essentially Tesla, or not Tesla, well, but tech will be exactly where you want to be.
Great buying opportunity in the tech space.
Oh, and consumer discretionary, right?
Yep. And then, a little consumer discretionary action moving forward. You can play both sides of the trade with consumer discretionary, so that's what makes it attractive at these times of the year. The winners are going to win. I won't go too over.
Okay. How the 1214 electoral decision and witching might impact the market?
That's witching is Mark. When they say witching, that's a Mark question.
I think that when you get it, it's like you're going to see some volatility move the week of, or if not the week before. But in the long run, I don't think that this is going to stop the show. I mean, if anything, you're going to have your traders that are going to be cashing out at the end of the year and then preparing for the first week, which we expect to boom the first week of trading for 2021.
Great. Explain how rotations work. One day everyone is leaving tech and then coming back in.
Emotional retail investors that trade off of speculation and emotion and not off of actual factual numbers, and being stable enough to stay within an investment that they invested in, basically. In
the words of Bruce Lee, be like water.
Yeah.
All right. COVID breakout and vaccines.
That's unfortunate.
I hope that no one gets it. And the vaccines obviously are going to be a nice little tailwind for us in the future. But right now, it's just a hearsay. So you'll probably get a bunch of trading sideways moving forward because, again, there's a bunch of emotional money in the market. So anytime we hear vaccine, we're going to run from tech and all the other tech companies into industrials and consumer goods. And then from there, we're going to go right back as soon as we realize that we're not getting it right away, right back to the tech. We've seen it happen in the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Sidebar, I'm giving AstraZeneca the huge side eye right now, by the way.
Okay. This is Google buying a car dealership and 5 acres of land in Seattle.
That's you.
Congratulations, you successfully acquired more property, and the fact that they're buying. Yeah. Show me more, Google, because you need to prove yourself as it pertains to monetization strategies and holding on to stuff. I just got a notification that they're knocking out, I think, Google Hangouts and turning it to Google Voice. So, will the real Google please stand up, please?
Okay. Cali as in California, ordering 10 p.m. curfew due to rising COVID cases and the effect on the market.
Oh, same
People are, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that that's gonna have such a huge impact because I don't think that anybody is really hanging out that late anyways in Cali anyways. What else, what are you gonna do? There's no concerts, no nothing. So you're gonna be in bed by 9 o'clock. So what's the purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great
Why?
buying opportunity.
Great buying opportunity. Okay. Next question. Why did NYC school closures cause the SPY and ES to dump?
Just essential, like you have your quants, your AI quants or algorithmic trading kicking in based upon that type of bad news. You know, a lot of the markets don't want to see that, you know, states are closing down or certain entities are shutting down. So of course it's indicative of the market in the sense of negativity, but for the most part, I think it rebounded fairly quickly as well.
Okay. Amazon Pharmacy and Boeing options.
Dang,
Sorry,
you put them in the same conversation.
That's the person did this one question. I'm just going through them.
Okay, so on the Amazon part, yeah, Walgreens and CVS, yo, I'd be spooked too. Boeing options, yo, look, be careful. Just make sure that your data is solid.
Okay. Anything from Yuku on Amazon Pharmacy, or you want to take the Boeing?
Amazon Pharmacy is still not going to be more fire than GoodRx. It's just a lot of times we see this before when they bought the pill company, all the other companies ran down and they ran back up once you realize that you cannot do that kind of business you need actual brick and mortar for that kind of business. So it's maybe it takes 5% of the market, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if
But
you
what if they put it in Whole Foods though?
That's tough.
Should we come back to that one
No,
another day?
I mean, I'm thinking about the layout of the store, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes tough, but it's a tough because where do you put it in the store from a layout? They're all laid out the same way. So I'm a very big Whole Foods person. So I'm like, well, where would you put it? Because when you walk in, the vegetables over here, and then you have the cooked food over here, then the middle aisle. So it's like you would have to put so much money into the layout of your store that you're not even guaranteed the revenue from that because you still have Walmart that kills you brick and mortar wise. From a face level, and then just from a branding level with people, they can go in there with different cards. I mean, you have some people with Amazon cards paying for their stuff in Walmart as far as what's going on, which I'm sure Amazon's not happy about. So I'm not believing that. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but they have a long way to go before they take that business.
Good perspective.
Cryptocurrency.
What about it?
That's all it says.
Sounds like somebody's just like watching the highs of Bitcoin or something like that.
It's just question mark ... You don't know when. There's no timetable.
Yeah.
It has no date on it. It's coming.
Okay. Stimulus talks back on the table.
Okay.
Wishful thinking.
Okay.
Wishful thinking. I'll tell you that much. If we get one prior to Christmas, I'll do the Frank the Tank from Old School. I'll say that.
All right. Palantir stock got downgraded today.
We're coming. I wonder who's wearing short shorts right now.
As it should. Everything that glitters is in gold.
All right. Warren Buffett and Tesla rumor.
Who is the best insurance company known to men?
Throw it up in the chat, y'all. I'm pretty sure y'all know that one.
But I think if we think about it, it's like it could be happening, but I don't like to run off of could be's. But what I'd like to know is essentially on the insurance forefront, especially if Tesla is looking to go the robotaxi or the ride sharing service to beat Uber and Lyft. And if that's the case, if you're an owner in Uber and Lyft, then you should definitely be scared.
If you own Uber and Lyft after they told you that they weren't going to be profitable until 2023 outright, then you deserve everything that you got.
All right. We didn't address Boeing.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Boeing and their future?
I think that they recently just got lifted I think that there is optimism behind Boeing because of the fact of their FAA regulation release, I think, for the planes to be safe to come back. But then at the same token, you know, if some of these companies are going to be damaged significantly, you know, a lot of these planes that were once upon a time on backlog for Boeing have been removed off. And so the question is, how do you get many of those planes back onto backlog? The defense contracts are definitely keeping Boeing afloat, as well as many other things, but more so that it's governmental contracts. But I will say this, you can tell a lot about a company based upon the fact of its recruitment. So if you want to see exactly how well a company is doing, go look at its recruitment as well as its retention within its employees. They'll tell you a whole different story.
It's a government subsidiary. That's what it is. It's never going out of business. The government can't have it. So it's always going to have a support level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Student loan debt and commercial mortgage debt.
That's something that I would definitely want to be watching, especially for financials. But I don't really trade in financials, so I mean, I don't really have a stick in this fight. But I will say this: you take away significant portions of student loan debt. I mean, I wonder what those millennial and Gen Z investors will be investing their money into next.
I know. There's a lot of single family. What's that company? I forget the name. Single family company. They do some trading. It's a nice company to own. Low rates.
Y'all gonna have to find one.
Low rates.
Okay. Do you see any? Wait, what'd you say, Q?
I said low rates. Low rates. Millennials that are minimalists, and there is a nice company out there that specializes in making single family homes. So in a low rate environment with minimalists that are going to have extra capital to spend, that could be a nice company to take a look at moving forward.
Okay. Alrighty. Why are these consumer reports talking down on Stock Bay, aka your stock crush? Talking about Tesla and the reports that came out today that said the Model S was not reliable anymore.
Interesting. I will say this is like, you know, I wonder who's funding Consumer Reports.
Okay, y'all get on that one too. Do you all see any future, what does it say? Is there any pullback planned? I don't know what they mean by planned, but.
There's going to definitely be a pullback once we digest all the information and we have to reassess. I want people to think like this. I want to go over. Think of it when you're on a plane and you get in the air and you start to come down, you have to kind of level off.
You have to level off.
Right. And so the market's going to do that. It's going to level up. It's going to level off. It's going to level up, level off. So it's coming. It's more of a digestion of information. And then from there, we will take it. But just know that it's coming. So be patient if you're looking for positions to get into.
Okay. How do we feel financially about the 2 remaining Senate seats in Georgia?
Those seats are going to be huge. I mean, essentially, it's like, you know, tech is definitely going to be watching whether or not it's going to be balanced. And then on top of that, even if it does become balanced, I think in Georgia, so one takes one and another one takes the other, I think doesn't Senator Kamala Harris, isn't she the decision factor?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's big for tech, but also big for our economy because the bigger the stimulus package, the bigger the bill that comes due that next year. So exactly. Pay attention to moving forward the year or two after because we have to pay this back at some point in time. And there's going to be a lot of trepidation when that happens, but at least it's more predictable.
And the Treasury Department is already starting to cut back on the Fed. So they're trying to literally cut back some of the resources in which the Fed has at its disposal. I think since, you know, the Fed is not using significant portions of some of the parts of the CARES Act, the Treasury Department is trying to cut back on some of that.
Okay. All right. Up next we have.
We could go in this lightning round. I'm here for it.
NVIDIA's earnings.
Stellar. Very, very huge. I think the only reason why that we saw the stock go down was because of the fact that they sandbagged in their guidance. But from what a very telling thing that I saw in that report was they are literally scrambling and trying to like meet the demand of all the folks that are trying to buy the graphics cards that are out that they keep releasing. So that's a very, very telling thing that essentially this was probably their super cycle for the upgrade, not the 20 series, but now their 30 series graphics cards. And their data centers is just like, I mean, it's fantastic. along with its AI. That's another shining piece for, say, for example, autonomous driving and other pieces of technology. So, yeah.
Okay.
And they just recently released that new chip for AI, but we're not going to talk about that. Just A100.
All right. This one is from Uncle Charles. He says, discuss the company Fiserv, the good and the bad. Fiserv is a financial services technology company. They are currently at $113.02. They're down in the aftermarket by almost 0.5%. And I'll just give you their 52
What's the
week.
ticker?
It is FISV.
So that way everybody can see what I see. Let's see here. Oh no, not the no. They're actually doing a $60 million buyback. I don't know if that's going to be a good look. But I mean, all right, now this is where we get to do the breakdown. Let's look at these quarterly, shall we? By the way, for anybody that wants to know, this is Market Insider through Business Insider's website, just as a heads up. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean, Charles.
Huh?
Oh, I was just saying
there's been a lot of sellers activity within this company though lately. So, quite a few shares sold. I mean, Mr. Jeffrey Yabuki is selling off of quite a bit of shares here. 900, 41.50 to 28.50. It's like he's selling every single chance he gets. Okay. Interesting.
Oh, alrighty then. Okay, so we have 3 left. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the future of disruptive innovation. Kathy Woods. I'm just going to say what the last 2 are, and then I'm going to say the very last one. And then Soros funds reasoning for selling Palantir shares.
Soros what?
Soros funds reasoning for selling the Palantir shares.
They made no money. Like, that's the thing. It's like they're a company that literally generates no significant revenue. I mean, their only revenue that they brought in was from government funding. You know what? I'm going to leave this alone. Go ahead, Q.
Getting agitated.
Go ahead, Q. Like, go ahead.
You gotta get out while the getting's good. That's what that means.
All right. This last. You
know what? No, it's time for some truth serum.
Go ahead.
Look here, y'all. We're all family, so we can literally tell each other the truth here. So when we look at a company like Palantir, I mean, they're a data company. They're a data company that uses AI to essentially make recommendations or predictive analytics and everything else, or predictive analysis. And that's great. But yet at the same token, it's like beforehand, they were super duper secretive about what is it that they do. I mean, honestly, I'll put this out there as a question. How many of you actually know what Palantir does? Like, actually knows the company? And then outside of government revenue, so outside of governmental contracts, go ahead and, you know what? We're gonna do it. I'm upset. That's how you know I don't even care about Palantir, because what is their ticker?
PLTR.
Huh?
PLTR.
That's how you even know that, like, honestly, nobody cares about Palantir.
At all.
Okay. Oh, they're too new. They are too new. So I will say this, Quiver Quant, by the way, if you're watching this, which I know that you guys are, we definitely need to get more up-to-date information and much more real time. So I know that there's something that they're working on. But one of the things that they would have been able to tell you on this company is that they essentially generate so much money from, they generate so much, that most of their revenue for 2020 came through COVID-19 and the data that they were able to collect for, say, for example, getting those numbers on behalf of the United States and other places around the world. So, I mean, with that, that's great. But yet, at the same token, you went public and you've been around for all this existence worth of time. I think the only reason why they even went public was because of the fact that nobody else was going to fund this company because they saw that they weren't generating any revenue. And so what do? You go to the publicly traded markets when you want to do a significantly larger raise. I mean, we've been through this before, and honestly, it's like they still couldn't. They did a confidential IPO, which meant that they didn't even tell you exactly what kind of business they are.
Red
so
flag.
If you bought, go ahead.
I said red flag right there.
There it is, huge red flag. So that's the first one. And then on top of that, when you don't even know what the business does, if you go to their website, I guarantee you, go to their website, Palantir's website, and then literally read like what you see. Now, if you can understand exactly what they do, and if you can tell me that that's a viable business, I will have no problem in shutting up. But most likely, the average person will not know exactly what Palantir does as a company. That's red flag number 2. And then on top of that, when it's like you come to the publicly traded market and you significantly had all these losses leading up to it when it finally started to leak out.
I will say this about IPOs, which I think is funny for word association. IPOs are like MTV Cribs. And we used to watch MTV Cribs and we would judge people on the kind of house they had. Like, yo, damn, I thought your house would be better than that. So whenever a company that's private goes public, that is them going on MTV Cribs and letting everybody inside their house. And whether or not you're impressed with that person's house is going to be indicative of your IPO offering in terms of what you do moving forward. So the fact that they didn't want to let you on MTV Cribs and they still wanted the revenue to tell you everything that you know about the company.
Like, think about it. Their 3 business models are, here, I'll show everybody just so that we're on the same page here. We're going to go through this together. I'm sorry, Jolene.
You're fine, Mark.
Palantir Gotham. I mean, nice name, but outside of that, integrate, manage, secure, and analyze all your enterprise data. Okay. Palantir Foundry, amplify and extend the power of data integration. Okay. Palantir Apollo, power software. SaaS means software as a service. Power software as a service in places no software as a service has gone before. What? And then I just see this. And on top of that, you want to know something that's so sketchy about this image?
The Dell, what?
The Dell, the landline, a stapler, like really for real, a stapler? You're a tech data company and you're talking about staplers and tape?
The iPhone 4.
Fam, what are we discussing here? And if we even go even further, how does it work? Start with data from multiple sources. Fuse the data into a human-centric model. Tag, secure, and track all the data. Bring the data to life for human-driven analysis. What? Yeah. Okay. Next case.
All right. So, final question, and then we can shift into something else. But final question is: are you guys ready? All right.
I'm still over here.
Versus Jeezy.
Go ahead again.
Gucci versus Jeezy.
Oh, that's easy. Jeezy 15.5.
Okay.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
All right. So those are all the questions, you guys. Good job. Good job. Thank you for keeping it right and tight. Any final thoughts?
Stay away from capping companies.
All right. So stay away from capping companies. All right. Q, any final thoughts on that round?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, just skate to where the puck's gonna go, not to where it is. Just very simple.
All right. So we know next week is going to be pretty chill because we got a so-called holiday.
I know, right? We're not going to see each other on Thursday. What are we going to do?
I'm eating, but not for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
I celebrate Plantsgiving.
Okay.
Bye.
I do. It's a thing.
As long as you got your plate, you good. Don't worry about
Exactly.
it.
I'm gonna get my aluminum foil just like you did back in the day, you know?
Well, I come to your house with it. You don't gotta worry about it. I come with the aluminum foil. Don't worry about that.
I don't know what I'm gonna cook.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I always like to Thanksgiving is always like my day of worst. Like I try to like just throw down in the kitchen, but apparently things have changed this year. So I mean, I get to scale it back, but you know, I get to, you know, test my wings a little bit, you know. I may just make homemade Chipotle.
But are you gonna make a rum cake?
Yes, I will be making rum cake.
Yes. All right. So what should people be thinking of? Yeah, I'm coming over. What should people be thinking about heading into like this kind of like holiday? Well, not really a holiday, but this day when the markets are closed. We're gonna call it that. How should people be
careful of retail traps? Be careful of retail traps in the market. I mean, because a lot of folks are gonna want to, like, for example, set themselves up to buy into retail stocks going into, say, for example, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So just be careful of those. Stick to the ones in which that are winners. Never subsidize winners for losers. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, honestly, just stick to the script. I mean, don't let just a specific week or something like that literally just offset what your balance is. I was going to talk about a stock that I have been looking at, or that I but you know,
that you were pretty hype about last night, but then things turned.
Oh no, they didn't turn. I mean, we still together.
Oh, I thought you decided to not go for it. Okay, so you did. All right, tell the people.
Tonight, I want to introduce a company. If you've been hanging with us for tonight, then you know, congratulations to you. If a person dropped out of this, then that's unfortunate. But I mean, tonight I get to unveil who is my Joker. And that Joker is Adobe. So the reason why I like Adobe is because of the fact that, you know, especially when we look at, I mean, their Creative Cloud is like second to none. And then on top of that, I like the way that they have been competing against DocuSign with Adobe Sign, and that's still growing. I like their sales platform, which, I mean, ever since they've acquired Magento, they've been pretty much with every single sports team. And of course, with sports right now, sports is, but still, I mean, the sales platform, the shops and everything else, then you're playing with the Magento platform. I also like the fact of what they're doing with cloud services. And honestly, I think that the future is still bright for Adobe. I'm looking at the chart. I mean, I know how everybody would be like, they'd be like, Mark, what is this chart that you talk about?
Yes. And while you pull that chart up, I'm just going to let people know, for those of you that ask questions that are more so for Trade Talk Tuesday, they did not get asked today. You can feel free to put those on IG again on Tuesday when we talk.
You ready for this, Q?
Yep.
Check this out. So this is Adobe over year to date, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. I think we can leave it there. So when we look at where we're at, I think that it's still going through some rough patch right now here. Let's bring it back. But I like this upside in which that sits ahead. Of course, there's some short-term and mid-term bearish, what they say. But I personally think that the future still looks very, very bright for Adobe. And then from 466 to 533, which is that 52-week high. Currently, I think it slightly, well, I mean, I guess it's headed towards a resistance level of about, what is it, 470? So the resistance would be, I would say, around the 479, really. I mean, if we're being really honest, though that is trading sideways currently. But typically when you see that, if we drew a line, you're seeing that it's essentially consolidating. So let's bring it in to perspective a little bit. Let's come in at 6 months and then 3 months. So if you notice, we're consolidating. And then if I come to a year to date, then we're also consolidating. So I like it. And Adobe has always done right by me.
Now, sir, speaking on some industrial stuff, I'd like to get your input on an industrial name, UNP, Union Pacific.
Union Pacific?
Just your thoughts as we get into the new year and we start to take a look at us moving things around the country because we're building stuff, we're more industrial. Just your thought on that name.
I like it. Union Pacific was actually one of the reasons why it was actually one of the top 10 reasons of why I actually chose to add XLI to the list.
Interesting.
Yes.
I know I had a conversation with my boys. Shout out, you know who you are. I was talking about saucing on a name, so that may be my new side joint. I know you like to add like the little names and stuff. That might be my new side chick,
Okay, somebody said Adobe was their baby mama.
So. Yeah, you know what I mean? I have to do something.
Let's look at something on Trader's cheat sheet right now. So currently right now it's getting ready to hit that first resistance point. So we could be seeing with UNP going into the new year. I think that we could definitely be seeing this breakout. I just hope it doesn't break out too fast.
I think,
but good name to be in.
I think part of it is going to be the fact that we don't have a smooth handoff of office. And so that sets back the new administration a little bit because it's not a smooth transition. And so they're not going to be as prepared as they normally would be coming in on the first day. There's going to be a little bit of a catch up. So I think that kind of trickles into when we start getting these bills and different things of that nature. So I'm hoping that kind of depresses a strong start and it allows some entry points into the new year. And it doesn't run too high up. But it's a name I like that I've been looking at.
It has a lot of institutional ownership, like over 80%.
I'm just gonna sit here and just
Well, let me join you all. Take a little sip.
I will say this: people need to start paying attention because you should start seeing some of that institutional ownership start to make some adjustments as we go into the end of the year.
That was Tuesday's homework, y'all. Pay attention to where the institutional money is going.
I'm just saying, like, people just may want to, follow along. Now, you want to know something funny though, Jolene? Remember when we were playing with earlier in today's video? Before we went live, when I was playing with the filters?
Yes.
I had it on the whole time.
Shut your mouth. Which part? I didn't even notice.
All right. Well, y'all, thank you. Q, thank you for joining us. I mean, we'd love to bring you back onto the show if
Definitely, man. I thank you guys. Thank you guys for allowing me to tell my story, and talk about my passion.
Story.
I'm always humbled just to add to a conversation that I think is growing and is important, and to do it with you guys is special. So I appreciate you guys for even giving me the platform.
Yes. Well, I mean, y'all, Q will be back for more. So if people are up here talking about, can Q come back every first or every third Thursday of the month? I mean, that's up to you. Our door is always open. You said what?
I said they already making my schedule for me.
Right.
I know, right? Q, our doors are always open to you. So it's like, you're already part of this movement. And of course, it's funny because we're going to have to wake up and do this all over again in the next few hours. So
that's the fun part.
I know, but
the fun part.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. You have an amazing story. And on top of that, it's always fun to sit back and just talk companies with you as well as just the markets and investing. So thank you, brother.
Hope you got honorary cousin status. They're now calling you Cousin Q.
Hey, listen,
the cousin that brings the tinfoil.
Yep, that's the cousin.
It's Saran wrap.
I'm not gonna be front. If I'm your cousin, you're gonna be tight. What happened to the chicken? Yeah, Q got that. Yeah, I'm out the crib with it, fam. Oh, you thought you had cheesecake? No, you didn't.
And of course, the person who wants to make an appearance today. So far.
Clearly, he's like, let me get situated here.
Y'all, thank you for rocking with us. Q, we hope to see you again, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you, hopefully on Clubhouse, along with Jolyn and Q. I will not be on IG Live Lounge sessions this evening, unfortunately, since we did extend the time. But, keep studying, keep learning. Q, any last words for the people?
Like I said, you got to enjoy the journey as much as you're going to enjoy the destination, and be relentless in your pursuit of, and you can feel the wording.
Jolyn, do you have any quotes for the people?
No quotes, but bonnet gang, bonnets are still required when no lounge sessions are happening. Bonnets are still required.
You know what? Just to put it out there to rest.
Oh Lord.
Y'all, thank you for rocking with us. I'm Mark Monroe.
Jolyn GC, the place to be.
Who are you, sir?
I'm just Q. I'm just happy to be here.
And this has been Hot Take Thursday. We'll see you next week for Trade Talk Tuesday. We will not be available. I know we will not be available for next Thursday for Thanksgiving. So spend that time with your loved ones, but keep researching, keep studying. The more you learn, the more you earn. Till next time.